And sex and power and romantic relationships are very much intertwined in us, physically, emotionally, neurologically. You can't avoid it, right? And so I think it's kind of dishonest to say that none of that exists, that it's like that there's some egalitarian paradise out of there when it's really not wired in us for that kind of relationship.
There's a recent scientific publication / factoid that I wanted to share with you in this context because I'd like your thoughts on it. David Anderson, who's a phenomenal neurobiologist, he's been a guest on this podcast before. He's a professor at Caltech, studies basically the functions of the hypothalamus. So things like aggression, mating, and things of that sort, and does it with great detail. He's a virtuoso of the hypothalamus. And he published a paper 2 years ago showing that indeed there are neural circuits in the brain of animals and presumably in humans as well that control sexual mounting behavior, but that there is actually a separate circuit for purely non-sexual mounting and physical power over that's expressed in animals. And anyone that's ever owned a dog and gone to the dog park will see same-sex mounting between dogs or mounting between dogs that has apparently no sexual endpoint.
Yeah.
And in exploring this literature and talking to David about it, it's very clear that there are neural circuits that have everything to do with essentially one animal of a species getting on top of the other animal, usually from behind, oftentimes scruffing or biting the back of the neck, and saying, I control you. It's often done in a playful context, especially between animals, not always aggressive, but there's a certain element of aggressive to it. But it essentially says, I decide whether or not you are mobile or not for this moment. And and this is very important, I want to emphasize this is a circuit that is entirely separate from all of the reflexes associated with sexual behavior in males and females. I find this to be fascinating. And because we hear about power over, right? And we hear about power and we think about physical power over. But the idea that something as primitive as mounting, just like something as primitive as biting or as striking, has its own unique set of circuits in the brain, I think substantiates everything that you put in your books about power and maybe even seduction as well. So as I just kind of toss that out there for consideration, I wonder if you have any reflections on it.